Good morning, everyone. Wow. Before I begin the presentation, I would like to just get a feel for the audience. How many of you have AI that you're using currently in your ORs? One, let's see, one, maybe two. Good. So this is some good information. So at Houston Methodist Hospital, we started this program probably about 3 years ago, but my hospital didn't, two of the hospitals were beta site. Two of the ORs, we have, let me back this up. We have 85 operating rooms. They're in 7 different buildings on the medical center campus where they're all connected. So you can walk through a tunnel or you can walk across the walkway. So that's how many we have. So we have, everybody pretty much works in the specialty area. So 2 of the areas began the beta site 3 years ago. The rest of us came on board 2 years ago. And it's the best thing that we've ever done. Who knows what AI is other than artificial intelligence? And how do we capture that? Through cameras. We have cameras in the OR. So each of our OR walls have a camera on all 4 walls. So they can capture the movement, and I'll go through some what we use it for. But before I go on, I'm trying to advance. It was working earlier. Alrighty. Nope, that's the shift. Okay, let me try it again. All right, let me disclose. Not getting paid to do this. And I am also on the ARN Foundation board as a trustee. This is my first year, so I'm excited about that. And I'm not speaking on their behalf as well. But while I got that up here, just don't forget ARN Foundation does offer scholarships for those of you that want to go to we used to say Congress back in the day, but for those of you who want to go to Expo, we have lots of money to give, and in November we'll be meeting and going through some of those scholarship offers. It's not too late to go online and apply. If you want to go to Expo, go apply online. And for one of those scholarships, we sometimes give up to $1,000. So we didn't give enough last year. So we want to give money away. All right, my objectives. I have 3 objectives today. The first one I'll talk about and discuss with you how to optimize better utilization of our first case starts. And pretty much that's what we do prior to even going into the OR. The work begins way before they enter the OR door. And we also use we use the Epic system. How many people use Epic? Oh, good. So we use Epic system and we use AI. And then we have, who all have a Huddle board? Anybody have a Huddle board? Good. So yay. So we also use the Huddle board. And the second objective is to kind of go through what we went through trying to reduce our overall turnover time. And then we standardize the turnover time. So we know that a cysto case turnover time is different than an ortho case or robot case. So those, when we first began standardizing the time, we had to capture the data, and that's what AI helped us capture. And we looked at how more consistency it would take to turn over a cysto or to turn over a robot, and we began to develop that data. Then I'll talk about the teamwork, and this is so important, communicating with your team, huddling every morning. We have a huddle. They didn't use the huddle. They used to just walk in the OR, find their assignment. Nobody really taught. But the patient has to have a better coordination of care. And that's talking to your pre-op nurse with how many y'all have an AOD and a pre-op handoff to the OR. That's so important in the safe patient care. So here's some of the things you'll hear me talk about so that you can understand the definition. The scheduled start time is actually what's on our OR schedule, what they posted, but this is the time it's supposed to start. So that's what we hold them accountable for. The actual case start time is the time they actually roll into the OR. What time do they roll in there? And AI picks up that for us. They capture that data and we run the report daily or at the end of the month. Wills in. And then the delay. Anything, first cases that's delayed, if it's past 59 seconds. is considered a delay. And you can't go and change your time in Epic because guess what? AI captures a different time. They're a whole different system. So we did have some people fudging, because they wanted to be the best. Not my heart. But so you even if it's a minute, you're delayed. And they felt like, was a minute, we'll put 7:30 instead of 7:31. But then when you run the AI report and we compare, because at that point we were trying to make sure that it was capturing the same data and accurately. Then the first case start is just what it says. It's that first case in the day. So we wanted 80% of our first cases to start on time. That's our metric. And it's also the same surgeon. First case starts, and it could also be the first case in that room. It may not have been scheduled, but it's the first case in that room. That maybe they moved because it was an empty OR. And then we talk about turnaround time, TAT, how long it takes to get the patient from from the wheels out to the next wheel come in. So that's what we'll be looking at. So what I'm gonna do today is talk about some of the actions that we put in place. There's 6 different ones, and I will break it down one by one. So we talked about the preoperative planning and communication. First case starts, turnover time, data monitoring and continuous improvement. That's your Huddle board. Staff engagement and accountability. That's your staff having a voice to speak up and share with you because they know better than any of us what the needs are and what's going on. So this gives them an opportunity to feel empowered to also change. And how do we utilize our technology, which is our AI? And I won't say the name of the company because we're not supposed to, but so I'll just stick with the AI. And then visual management. The visual management is our Huddle board. So we take that data and we post it, and you'll see some of that shared with you later today. So let's go to number 1. Anybody have any questions right now? If I'm talking too fast or too slow? All right, good. All right, so the pre-op planning, this requires your charge nurse to actually have a conversation with the charge nurse in the pre-op and anesthesia so that they, way before we go to the OR, so that they'll have a better idea of what the day is gonna look like. So the Huddle board has to be updated. So not only does our OR have Huddle boards, but so does our pre-op and our PACU. So since our pre-op and PACU are closer together, they can share their Huddle board information and they break it down. So pre-op also huddles a different time of day than we do in the OR. Ours is every day, 6:45. And then it also gives an opportunity preoperatively to highlight any cases that are at risk. Sometimes we have combo cases. You may have 2 or 3, 4 doctors doing a case that's gonna last 8 hours or 12 hours. And so those are complicated cases. So we have to make sure that we have that conversation. At this time, your charge nurses is trying to decide who's gonna go in what room. They used to make the assignments the day before, but then the staff, if they don't like the assignment, they may call in. But you know that I'm from the OR. I did 10 years in open heart surgery. So I always tell my team, well, every game you play, design, and been a part of, I have to, so I can see it formulated. But the thing is, we talk about those high risk cases, or those maybe the patient is a hard stick, and it can delay your first case start. Maybe the case is a block case. The patient needs to have a block. And we know that we have way more people on schedule than we normally have. So anesthesia may plan to do the block inside the room in order to avoid having a delayed case first start. So then it helps us make sure that we assign the right people or the right case, because you don't want to put 2 brand new people on a case that's complicated. You got to, and I'm not just saying the circulator, but the scrub person as well. You got to pair it up and make sure they have the support that they need. So that's the first thing, is the pre-planning. So secondly, okay, the first case start optimization. How do we do this? Every day, we at 6:45 a.m. the OR huddle, and I'll show you what it looks like when they do a huddle. But they review the previous day first case starts. They talk about the delays and the reasons why. We capture that information. We prioritize early with the pre-op preparation. You can't wait till everybody get there and it's time to go talk to your patient and you find out that the pre-op nurse is having difficulty starting IV, but yet we got these other people waiting, and now the case is going to be like, or they forgot to order a lab, or the doctor forgot to put in the order, right? So with AI, they play a good part with us because now our doctors get a text message that your patient is in pre-op early in the morning. They can opt out of it, but most of them, they want to know that. And then they get another message that because they have to come and ID the patient by 7:15 for a 7:30 case, if they're not there at 7:15, my pre-op, well, they were battling over that. They came up to the conclusion of the whole matter is that that's in pre-op. Pre-op should call the anesthesia or the doctor. OR is trying to get the room set up. Any delays between the turnover, OR can handle that or communicate with them. So that's what we do, early preparation. And then you make a checklist of what's going on, what went wrong, so that when the person that's assigned to update your Huddle board, they can put that information. It's an area on there where you document, and I'll show you that too as we go through. But we have to coordinate. Not only do pre-op before they come to the OR, do they communicate with anesthesia, you have to also, the nurse in the room and the tech has to communicate with anesthesia that's assigned to their room, or the CRNA that's running late, or have to go to lunch or take a break and then tell nobody. You have to communicate with your anesthesia team to see what do they need, what do they want, and really and truly, the circulating nurse should be standing at the side of that patient in the room into their sleep, assisting the anesthesia if needed. It's a work ethics. And then you flag any potential delays. That discussion goes on during the huddle, when you're huddling and talking about the cases. Hey, room 2, you may be delayed because Dr. So-and-so called on his way, he overslept, so he ain't gonna get here on time. So what do? Go help out in another room if your room is ready. And then this critical part, how many people have AOD to OR handoff? Or pre-op. You have to have don't just have a piece of paper for them to look at. Do you have that crucial conversation face to face? You have to talk to your nurse, the nurses handing over that patient, so they can tell you about anything that you need to be alert or aware of during the case. What we found out, this was a hard thing to push because they didn't want to do it. They just want to go get the patient and go. But we require that you stop because a lot of things were caught. The consent was wrong because the pre-op nurse, she was busy trying to start an IV, settle a patient, making sure they're warm, putting those warmers, SED sleep machines on their legs. So we caught a lot of mistakes with even the wrong sticker on the consent. So it's important to do that. Talk to the nurse prior to taking your patient. And then one of the other things we discovered is the pain score was always wrong. Or why are we getting charged an Epic in the OR when we don't get medication for our pain score for reassessment? Well, what was occurring was the patient was getting something for anxiety or from pain in pre-op, but the pre-op nurse never reassessed the pain to close that chart out because in Epic they don't marry each other. It's a whole new set of charting documentation. So now when the OR nurse goes to pick up the patient, we prompt her to say, did the patient receive any pain medication? And if the pre-op nurse says yes, can you please close out the chart? Because the DMV or North Commission requires a reassessment within 60 minutes. It didn't say you have to wait for 60 minutes. It says within, right? So she can go ahead and ask the patient right there, are you still in any pain? Are you good? How's your pain score? And then document that. And that fixed that problem. Now we're 100%. They put us on the committee with the in-house because we were falling out. I'm like, well, we don't get meds. But now we understand the process. All right. This is what first case starts look like. I have 2 ORs areas, 2 different buildings. So in my main OR, that's our urology, general surgery type area. In my done 6 OR, that's OB-GYN, oncology. We do living kidney donors. But if you look at the data, 2022, 2023, this is prior to AI. We never met the goal of 80%. Never. For years, never. So once we implemented in both of them, this is a 74 and a 75. I was going to try to correct it, but I didn't have time to do it. But if you, once we implemented AI, it held everybody accountable. This is something that became what we talked about every day. And it was a goal because this report goes to our OR subcommittee meeting with the physicians, and then it goes to the OR exec committee meetings, and I have to report on this. And then if they want to know why didn't you meet it, they want an action plan. I don't like doing action plans because we need to be like, oh, so we're gonna meet this goal. But it is accountability, and then it became something that everybody wanted to do the best on in all the 7 different specialty areas. And of course, we always lead the way because I love leading. Well, right now we're at 89% this year. So since we've not gone under 80, I think 84 or something. My boss decided, well, my OR would increase to 80. Our goal is now 83%, but that's okay. We're good. We can do this. That's what we say. We're a good cheerleader. Done 6, 74, and 75 didn't meet it either. OB-GYN, and they were the closest. So there's no reason for it took that long for the patient to get to the OR. But now in 2024, we were at 81, and now we're at 84% average. And I think I have a slide that will show you that every day we are not at the goal, but at the end of the month, it makes up. And the team gets excited because they talk about it every day, so they know what they have to do to beat that 80%. And I always say failure is not an option. The only option we have is figure out how to succeed. And so there you go. So let's talk about turnover. How many of y'all measuring turnover time? Okay. I know, okay, so do we. And you'll see our turnover time to us is great. But other hospitals, I already know that 25 or lower is better because I've been in other hospitals. Like our county hospital, I was a director there. We were at that. But I don't get it yet for my OR, but we're going to get there. But we track it and we talk about it. AI tracks when the wheels go in and when the next wheels go out. So that's the window for turnover time. And we talk about that every morning in the huddle, what our turnover time was the previous day. We developed a standardized turnover protocol because, as I said before, a cysto case is not like a big CV case or an ortho case or a spine case. Sometimes it takes a long time unless you're going in the same room using the same type of equipment. So some of the ORs have 45 minutes turnover time or 35, but our basic is standard right now is 30. So we use universal cues, and I'll show you those as well, visual cues, just so we can see how we are progressing every day. Scheduled dedicated turnover team. Anybody have turnover teams? How do you use your turnover team?
They're in pods, like, because I'm a track member, the hospital I'm at now has 31 ORs, and each hall has a pod of either 2 or 3 people, and they're assigned to clean and turn the room over.
Okay. Anybody do it differently? Okay. So our turnover team these are individuals that assigned, and that's all you do all day is go and turn that room over so that the nurse can go ahead and see the next patient instead of helping open and turn over. And sometimes they even go ahead and set up the back table, and we had to agree to disagree and don't get set up. So you need to train the people the way you want it set up. And it worked. That way the person in the room also got a chance to get a break. So now we included since we started being short of staff, everybody want to have a baby for some reason. Everybody was getting pregnant. So I'm serious, we got a lot of babies. Love them to death though. But so we started having a little staffing challenges. So we began to assign the person that's assigned to rooms for breaks became the turnover team as well. So you're gonna give a break and you're gonna turn them over. And don't forget to take your own break and lunch. So that's what we do. We conduct a brief huddle. At the end of the day, the charge nurse does a brief huddle with the other charge nurse if we are going past the shift and you have a late charge. Say a person is circulating in a room and the charge nurse is only 8 hours a day. We have 8, 10, and 12-hour shifts. So the person or a person in the room will relieve her for charge. We also have the brief huddle in the room with the nurse that's relieving the nurse that's in the room. That's just, again, another way to say we're handing off. So important that you communicate to that person who's coming in to take over that case. So let's see how we just meet, but there's times when our turnover is horrible, but we make it up. By the end of the month, they already know. I don't want to see that less than 30, and neither do they. So we've been meeting our goal, even prior to AI. We've been meeting our goal, but there's times anesthesia. Oh my gosh, anesthesia it can't be found. There's not enough of them. They got to go to lunch. They got to go to break. I got to go home. I'm only here to 3, but case is still going, and we got 2 more to follow. Yeah, this had I known, I would have went to school and been an anesthesiologist. I should have just been a CRNA because they come in, they got the best hours. But we had to be pulled. Guess where they're pulled most of the time in OB? To C-section. I'm not over babies and mommies, but if they have a C-section or emergency, they got to get pulled. They pull them because we're on the same floor, and they're not supposed to, but they do anyway. And it's nothing I can do about it, but feel bad because the surgeons are not happy. So guess where my office is? Right there, and I gotta listen to them. So I'll get up and say, "Hey, how's it going?" They don't have anesthesia. So okay, let me see what's going on. Well, I mean, if a baby's coming, it's coming, but being told to go take your lunch before you give a break, or no, go take a break before you give your lunch, they just don't plan well. So we've been tracking delays, anesthesia delay. I started having, first we used to report all the delays, and it's based on the surgeons in the room. I said, okay, let's put anesthesia up there as well to see how many are caused by anesthesia. Most of our delays were caused by anesthesia, except for Maine. They figured it out, and they started having 0 delays for anesthesia. But they will pull from my area in a heartbeat to cover another building's case because they're 24/7. My place is not 24/7. And so, but I still got to do the cases. And that's not fair to my team because guess what? We know that we make money by being in the OR. It's based on minutes that you operate.
I just have a question that I'm trying to understand it all. Who documents the anesthesia delay? Who assigns what?
The nurse, circulator.
The circulator.
You can chart in Epic.
And then is it debriefed or is there a conversation had over what delay is assigned to that room?
No, the conversation is that day when it's delayed. She just go in her chart when she's charting. She'll put anesthesia. The reason why it's delayed is anesthesia because when they pull the data, it'll have the reasons for delay. It's a place in Epic that has delay. You check that box, it'll show you why the case is delayed. So when I'm pulling the report for my subcommittee meetings, I'll pull a chart. If I see that it was delayed, I'll go to that patient, I'll open the record, I'll check on the delay screen, and it'll have, and if the nurse didn't put anything, I'll tell my charge or the manager, she needs to put in the reason for the delay, because we need that, because I have to report on that.
Do your anesthesia participate in your pre-op huddle with the pre-op nurse, the surgery nurse, and the patient? Y'all do the pre-op huddle?
My anesthesia do not, but other ORs, they do. They got to do that. My anesthesia is he's been there for a long time, but he communicates in pre-op with the charge nurses.
So circulator rolls the patient back and then you're specific.
Mhm.
And the other one, anesthesia roll with the circulator.
The circulator and anesthesia, they come together. It's a package. That's why I said there's a pre-op discussion about possible delays, and then there's a discussion with the room and the CRNA that's assigned or anesthesiologist assigned. That team have a discussion, and that's when they sometimes decide, hey, this patient is going to be late. If I do the block in pre-op, we'll just do it in the room, and that way they get in the room with time. But still, the surgeon's upset because he has to wait to them do the block, and he's pacing in front of my door. So I try to give him something to eat or something like that. Yeah, we actually fixed an old room that's connected to our neurology OR where used to find my PNA sleeping. Oh, what is this? And then the OR residents, they would come in through that door and they would sleep. So we took it, we revised, we refreshed it, we made it a room for our surgeons to go to while they're waiting. We put snacks in there or sodas. We put computers for them and the phone for them to do their dictation, so that keep them busy and not be upset at the front desk. I got them out from the front desk, and they love it. Okay. So the fourth thing is data monitoring and continuous improvement. This is where AI come into. AI picks up everything. We don't listen to the voice. We haven't turned that on yet, but it was hard to get the surgeons to agree to allow cameras in the OR. That was a battle because they felt like we were spying and the patients wouldn't want it. Well, we end up putting it in some of our communications with the patients that we use artificial intelligence to help us collect data so that we can better improve. And we have signs up there, so they already know that we do that. What we don't do, because we know of HIPAA, we don't send it out. No one, everybody, all the staff does not have access. It's management, the surgeons, our quality chief officer. So I can literally sit in my office. I think my TV screen is a little bit bigger than that, and I can see every OR that's under me. What's going on? If I look and I see something weird, I can click on it and it'll bring it out. And I can click. It's about 4 different cameras. I can click on the camera I want to see, and it came up to be handy. At one point, I used it when two staff was bickering. You know, our staff don't fight; they always get along in the room, and so it was just a big thing. And the manager was out, so the charge nurse just, she said, "I need some help with this." So when we went to talk to them, I I don't like to just jump to conclusion. I want to make sure whatever decision I make, I'm doing the right thing. So the one nurse said, as they was walking out, just look at the video. So I did. And boy, the one that complained, she was all, she didn't even have a mask on. How are you in the room without a mask and you're going to complain? How are you going to put on a patient warming blanket over your shoulder and you open up sterile supplies? You're not supposed to do that. So I was like, wait, and the surgeon has a mask, everybody has a mask on. And the person that she complained about, she said the person was rude and violent and pointing fingers. So I looked at the person. The person she was relieving her. She was, trying to get her documentation. And I saw her turn to her and she was doing like this. So apparently she was just trying to explain something and she would, and then she wasn't playing and doing all that. I was like, oh. So here we got a problem. So I did have both of them written up because number one, you don't fight. I don't care if the patient's asleep. They do have this thing, awareness, where they can hear everything. Maybe not this patient. So that's just unprofessional. So that's one thing. And then another thing I saw was they said the patient arm fell off. It was a brand new nurse. Sometimes we don't like to set up new nurses, do we? So it was a brand new nurse caring for the patient. One of the older nurses, she let the patient arm fall from under this drape. I said, what? I had to go back and tuck it under. So I looked at the video. No arm fell. I'm like, this patient. And actually, I watched that nurse. I watched the whole thing, how they positioned. She did everything. You forgot I used to teach, okay? The residency program. She did everything she was supposed to do. So I was like, okay, she did the right thing. I didn't see any arm fall. Well, I said, it didn't fall. So I'm like, what did you want out of this? Because she's here to learn. And if it did, that's a teaching moment. And the nurse was just so upset. I didn't do it, And I'm like, okay, let me see. So AI does help find a spark, a place when a specimen was lost or left in the patient. We went back. It wasn't my team fault. You forgot to take it out, surgeon. They didn't know if you don't communicate. How do they know you got a specimen and you forgot to pull it out and tell them, hey, I'm taking this specimen. Everything that you said you had taken out, they had listed, and we did a debrief. We do debrief at the end. You come and you look at that debrief and you verify, and we got to the point where they even sign off on the specimens that they had, that he signed off on. So, I mean, it works.
So that's great to be able to resource the video. Is it archived? Like, does it
No.
make for
24 hours. 24 to 48. I think it's 40. It was 24 hours. Yeah. I mean, that was agreement in the write-ups for the surgeons. They don't want, and it's not used for discoverable and all of that. So it's a lot, but it's wonderful. This is an example for AI. One of the prostatectomy laparoscopic robotic assistant case. So Dr. One did like 52 cases, 12. Anyway, it compares total volume that I pulled from 95 of those cases. So the wheels end to intubation, you could see Dr. One took 10 minutes, but I don't know what was going on. I think this one, with the cases with just one, I usually don't look at that because this really doesn't tell me much. But the average is 10 minutes for the doctors. Then from intubation to drape, 25 minutes, 30 minutes. So the average is 25.6. Dr. One is driving that, but I don't understand Dr. Number 5. Maybe his patient was a little sicker. But patient draped to incision, that tells you, was the surgeon there? That's what I wanted to look. I thought I was going to have an aha moment. You weren't available. That's what they said. But if the patient is draped and incisions made, that's a good time. That means that surgeon was there 3 minutes. The average 3.2. So I don't see any reason to get on doctors about not being available because they were in the room when that patient was draped to make that incision. And then incision to undrape, this is the length of time it takes for the surgery, average 234 minutes. And then undrape wheels out. So it average 10 minutes once the case is done to get them out. So I shared this with the surgeons. I know who the doctors are because we get the list of the name, but I didn't want to, put their business out there like that. They know who they are. And then this is the GI one. 190 cases. Average for wheels in to intubation, 8 minutes. Yep. And then intubation to drape, 14. And then drape to cut, 5, average 5. And cut to undrape, average 29. I mean, the cases go pretty fast. I don't know why Dr. R is a little longer. Maybe he had some complicated cases. Maybe it was a combo with it. But no, it's just hysterectomy and DNC. So, and then undrape to wheeled out, 10 minutes. Any questions on those? So those are the type of data you can collect. And I share that data in my OR subcommittee meetings, and then so they can kind of have an idea. So that now that they've been seeing some of those, they're like, well, what does it tell you? What's next? So the next thing is we're looking at, we don't have an OR length of stay, but we're trying to work on developing a length of stay for a certain procedure, which is the same thing. How long does it take for this doctor compared to this doctor to do the complete procedure? So we're working on that. The staff engagement and accountability, this is so important. This is where the Huddle board comes into place. It involves a staff. They have to participate. When we first started, we started out with paper, putting it on the board, and then now we're like electronic. But I tell you, the staff did not want to come around to hear no conversation, but this is a huddle. And it helps because now everybody gets the same information at the same time. We also use it, Huddle board, we can recognize our staff. Like so-and-so passed her CNOR, yay, or been elected as nurse excellence, any type of awards, or even an announcement, so-and-so baby girl was delivered. Oh, we had a beautiful bouncing baby. Somebody's getting married. So if staff wants to have that placed on there, because you can walk past the Huddle board and tap on any of those icons and it'll highlight it and bring it up bigger so you can read it. Announcements we put on the Huddle board as well. We provide ongoing education. When we find out that there's issues that need to be addressed, and I'll talk more about that later, we had an issue, we could not keep our patients warm. So our normothermia scores were horrible, but we figured it out. So, and we share that information, I'll show you. And then this encourage feedback. We have a place called The Voice. At first, they were writing it on a piece of paper and they would pin it, the things that they needed, the things that they want to fix. Now it's a QR code. You fill it out and it goes to Amy or whoever and they look at it. It makes us accountable to do something about what the staff is saying, what we need, what their needs are. They know better than us. They're there every day. And then the utilizing of technical knowledge, that's AI, and visual management, that's the Huddle board. It helps us leverage digital features, so we get to see what we post and also work on making corrections. It's implemented color-coded status, and you'll see we look at 5 pillars and we color code them, and it's listed per day. So if we don't meet our first case stars, they're red. If we meet it, they're in green. And then for the weekend, it's grayed out. And I'll show you what that looks like. It gives us real-time updates. Let us know where we stand. 2 years ago, a year ago, year or two, we had a terrible surgical site infection rate for our OB-GYN. And now we have 0, knock on wood, 0 for the 500 something days surgical site infections. So we developed a surgical site infection committee. It was led by our chief of OB-GYN, and pre-op was a part of it. And we kept digging deep. Actually, we ended up posting this it's in a journal, OB Obstetric International Journal for Physicians. He let us each write our chapter, the part that we participated on. And my segment was the patient pre-warming. We started pre-warming our rooms, and I'll talk about that as we go on. So this encourages feedback. This is what it looks like as a paper. This is the main OR. So now showing that where it says now showing to the right, that's to your left. That's the report for those that missed it or wasn't there that day. If they want to read what happened that day, that's typed up through the Huddle. We also have a binder where we keep it. We don't need that now, but remember, this is the first start. This is our beginning stage. SPD supplies, that's where we would put issues and concerns, but we got a better process now. You don't need to take, this is obsolete. But that shows you the graph on meeting it. The P is for people, meaning our first case starts getting our patients in on time. The S is for service, meaning how are we turning over, meeting the needs of making sure we get our patients in and out. The Q is quality. That's for our normothermia. We just wasn't meeting that goal. And then the F is for finance, our productivity. And I'll talk a little bit more about each of those later. And then we have the ideas. If you have any ideas, we want to know what's working well, what's not working well, what can we do better. And then as we progress, or if something's on hold, this is back then with the paper, we would put it here so that the staff can always be informed, so that they want to keep coming up to you and say, when are we gonna get that door fixed? I told you the door was. So this is like updates. We have already contacted facilities. It's gonna be, someone's coming in to fix it one day. And then what's in progress and what's completed. We kept track of that, but now it's all, and each Huddle board has its own theme. So main OR, they took a theme of a movie, whereas done 6 OR, they had a uterus theme. They found some pictures of uterus. This is crazy. I have a great team. Actually, I love my staff too as well. But this is Maine, and then this is just to show you uh, what they stand for. The people, the first case star, service, turnaround, quality, normothermia, financing. These are our targets. So this is what it looks like. If you tap on the P, it'll come out. So this is our first case start. I said we have an average, but it shows you one day we were like 51% because we just didn't get our cases in on time. Why? Anesthesia. For real, for real. Or, I'm sorry, surgeon's late. I'm on my way. Oh, I'm here, but you're not here. You're not here. Where are you? You didn't mark the patient. The patient want to talk to you. During this first case started, we also found out that our chaplain, how many have chaplains come talk to the patients or pray for them? We do. We are real spiritual hospital Methodist. Well, the chaplain would come later or at 7:15, and then the patient want to pray, and then the family want to pray, and consultation. And I'm like, dude, I didn't call him dude. I said, can you please come between 7 and 7:15 because it's impacting our first case starts. We want them to get what they need. And then the nurses will say the patient had to go to the restroom. No, the patient had to go to the restroom. You just went in there late. So we start telling them, take the patient to the restroom, off a restroom before 7:15. And then the surgeon, make sure you ID your patient by 7:15. And that way, if everything is done, we're in the room way before 7:30. The gray is a day off or a weekend. So the numbers are the days of the week. It goes to 31 days. So we fill it in as we go every day. So you can see there were several days where we did not meet it, but at the end of the day, we had a couple hundreds that pulled it up. This is the example of a turnaround. Again, we had some 25s, 26. So we hit that. But there are days when we were like 30, 32, 31. So it fluctuates. But our first case, the turnover time is the wheels out to the next patient wheels into the room. And we know that time is money and money is time. The time the patient in the room, we're making money. You can stay on the clock. But if we don't have any cases, you need to either go home, take low census, or find some other OR to work in because we can't pay you for just sitting here. And I hate to do that a lot of times because the nurses do work hard when they're there. But at the end of the day, if we don't have cases in the room, we're not really making money. And that's how OR minutes, just how our productivity is generated. And that impacts whether or not we can have that other nurse position when we request it if somebody leaves. Sometimes we're denied because our productivity is off. Because people don't want to go home, they want to sit in the lounge. I'm like, no, you can't do that. Some days, I'm not that hard. Some days you can because you worked hard. Anybody measure productivity? Okay. I have a slide with that one. So this is our quality. This is a good day. This is good. But prior to, we just fixed this probably 2 months ago. No, 3 months ago, we just fixed it. But we never met our normothermia. It was always how, I'm like, okay, so we implemented a measure in the pre-op. We take the patient's vitals, right? But prior to the patient leaving for that handoff, we take another final temperature to see. So it's 2 temperatures when they first get there, and we take the patient temperature when they leave. We also give them their bear huggers, the warmer gowns. Some patients don't want it. They say it's too hot. I get it. And we say it's for your safety because when you go in the OR, the environment is a little cooler than it is out here. We'll give you a blanket, a warming blanket when you get on the bed. We talk our spiel. When you wake up, you won't be in the OR. You'll be in recovery or ICU. Doesn't mean anything went wrong. It's just that your surgery's over, blah, blah, blah. So we start taking the temperature prior to, and then we started pre-warming our rooms. So in the mornings when the charge nurse come, she would mix around and make sure that the rooms are up to 70. And the nurses had a fit, the doctors, they were all just screaming. So we had to, okay, just let them go in the warm room, and you can lower it after surgery begins. So that was a battle. They were mad at me. They were turning red. I know it was hot. I know it was, but it still didn't help. So I mean, 2 years of this, we couldn't figure it out. We were charting in between cases. We tried to warm the room back up. Then we had the PNAs warming it back up. It just wasn't working. But then when they get to pack you, the temperature's fine. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. So what we discovered was when anesthesia extubate the patient, they take the temperature out with the extubation, and it's taking the temperature of the OR, not the patient. That's why. That's one reason, not only. But prior to discovering that one, we decided to put, they have these warming leg warmers, just like a silver blanket. So our lithotomy patients, we started putting the warmers on the leg, got the doctors to agree. So the temperature got better. I have to look it up. Yes. My resource nurse, she did a study on it, and we convinced them. And what we found out, there was our sister hospital was using them. So well, let's try that out, because I don't like to not meet the goal. So the leg warmers, put them on the patient. Now everybody pretty much use them. Didn't interfere with anything, but we still was up and down. And recently we discovered, hey, you taking that patient thermometer out, I mean not the thermometer, but the temperature probe out when you extubate them, and it's taking OR temperature. So it's fixed, thank God. The last pillar is our productivity, was impact our finance, which impact whether or not I can have another nurse. And I said, you want another nurse, or you want to send a lounge? Because I can't justify. They asked me, why is your productivity below? The goal is to have 100%. My managers are so good now, they figured out, they know how to, finagle things. When it's low census, they'll ask, do you want to go home low census, or you want to go to main OR to help out? And so they may go there because if it's a lot going on. Sometimes they'll ask, can you change your day off because we don't have this many cases, and take another day this week? If you're nice and good to your team, they're going to work with you. And if they can't, just know that they can't. Don't force people. They cannot take off. And I know people have bills to pay. I hear all the time, they beeline right to my office. My bills don't change. I still got to pay my rent. I said, I get that. But I can't control if a surgeon or all of them are going to a urology conference or OB-GYN conference. So now we got to figure out, do you want to change your day off? Do you want to work in main OR? Do you want to go over to Fondren or Walter, the CVOR? Or do you want to go across the street to orthopedics? We try to find ways to fit them to get their hours. 64%, I mean, a lot of people sitting around doing nothing, case. So somebody dropped the ball. But the staff is familiar with this now. It really is hard to implement because they think that you don't care, but we really do care. And I get it. You got to pay your bills. But we need to work together how we figure this out. So if your manager tells you to go home because there's no case, take a PTO or low census, I don't count against you, or find something else that you can do. Sometimes you can do modules where we can charge you to non-productivity hours, because each staff has a certain number of non-productivity hours that they can have. If they're going to go to in-service or a conference, that's one day you can lease. So we can charge it to that. So why do we use Huddle boards? All the reasons that I just explained is real-time information, is right-time information. And the most important thing, it helps us address any successes that we have that day or the day before, and any challenges that we may have. And we can mitigate it right then. It avoids having a nurse delivering information from one room to another. By the time we get to the other room, is the wrong information. So now everybody's in the same place at the same time, getting the same information, and open discussion, and you are free to speak your mind and say how you really felt about the CRNA going to lunch and not can't be found, taking longer than we want everybody to eat, but taking an hour or whatever. No, that's not part of the program. It also promotes collaboration. Everybody get to speak. And then it provides a platform for sharing ideas. Even our P&A participate. They'll say, hey, somebody, the nurse, you left this here and there. You need to pick up your stuff too. You know, they're not, kind of be respectful to all roles. We're a team here, so let's help each other out. Wins. I talked about all of these things already. It gives you your team is more knowledgeable. If I go up to one of my to staff, once our first case starts, we meet and I go, they'll know it's 80%, 30-minute turnover, but everybody's frustrated again because of anesthesia or the surgeon. But I also noticed that they will take blame when they're the ones having issues. They'll blame it on somebody. Patient had to go to the restroom. No, really? What else happened with that one? So it increases our visibility and performance. We're compared to others in our hospital at our subcommittee, at our or our exec committee meeting, the directors, we have to share our first case starts and turnover time. And then if it's messed up, they'll say, Ms. Edwards, I need you to come up with an action plan to present next month. And I'm like, okay, we'll do. How are we gonna fix that? So I'll get with my team and we'll figure it out. It gives us opportunities to track. Everybody knows the data speak volume, and the doctors don't believe it unless they see it in writing. So you can show them. I had a doctor complain that my nurse is taking too long to prep. I said, really? I said, well, let me look and see. That was a difficult patient, a very complicated patient. What had happened was anesthesia took longer than normal because that was a very sick patient. Took about 40 minutes just to get the patient stabilized. It had nothing to do with my nurse's prepping. That's all he saw when he came to do the surgery is her prepping. He thought the whole thing was about her, and it wasn't. And I looked at her time. Her time was just like everybody else's time, and so it was anesthesia. And so I broke down the timelines and showed it to him, and he appreciated me sharing. I said, oh, you had a very difficult patient. He was very sick, and anesthesia had to take time. They even had to get an extra anesthesia tech to come and help out to get whatever they needed to do for that patient. And so then his next case I looked at, just wanted to be curious, he was late. So when I wrote down the reasons why that room was, I said, well, and I just took liberty to look at your other case. I said, they waited for you for 30 minutes to come into the room. Yeah, thank you for the information. He never came back to me again complaining. You come for my people, I'm gonna come for you. And now he's smiled, I'm here. Oh, this stuff happened. I said, don't you know how to explain to me? Time is money and money is time. Get in there. So I have a good relationship with my team. It wasn't easy, but it helps us increase. We definitely still have to improve our turnover time. We're not there yet. I always tell 25 minutes, you guys. You could do this. If we can do it at Benton, which is our county hospital, at ease, we could do it here. There's no reason. But what we found out was by staff, since they know it's 30 minutes, they'll say, well, I got time. And they'll try, so they'll take a little bit longer lunch or break, and then they'll go in so they can be on time. But no, I was like, it's not about that. It's about doing the right thing at the right time all the time for the patient. Here's a video of, this is an old video, because that's a paper Huddle board. But here's a video.
All right, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Our people pillar focuses on-time starts. So congratulations. Yesterday we hit 100% for our first case starts. We've been 100% for the last 2-3 days. We have 4 first case starts today, so hopefully we can hit 100% this weekend.
Woo! Measures.
No, there are no need for corrective measures. We hit 100%. So
Yeah,
our service pillar for turnaround time. We met our goal of under 30 minutes, and so we got 26 minutes yesterday. No need for corrective actions. So congratulations to you all on the team for making our goal. All right, quality pillar. It was 51% for normothermia. We have some corrective measures that we have in place for pre-op and OR nursing. And that includes pre-warming our patients anywhere between 10 to 30 minutes before they go out of the pre-op into the OR, silver caps. Having our patients covered as long as possible with warm blankets, and with upper and lower bear covers. Other than that, we have finance. Productivity is 108% for our department. So yay, we're meeting our minimum of 100% for our productive hours. No ideas have been submitted so far. Please remember that this ticket is here for any time you guys want to share your voice or lend any ideas to the department for any concerns or issues that you guys are experiencing.
All right, anybody got anything else? Any issues or anything we need
That's
to
a
address
matter.
today? All right, that's it.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Make it a great day.
And I don't go to all of them. I go to some of them. But getting them out of the break room into an area to do the huddle it was trying. This is what the electronic one looks like. So if you tap on any one of those screens with the little the circle, it'll bring that full forth. We document right here every day any of the issues. So if they want to know why, if I want to know why, because I may go out there because it's right outside of my door, it's 75 inch screen, and I can go tap on to see what happened, what occurred. Now the voice, we do a QR code, and then the progression is still the same. If I tap on any of those other infectious control matter, it'll show how many days we've gone without a surgical site infection in the OB-GYN. It talks supplies and equipment issues, just hit on that. Announcements, dates is really a great system to have in a board. And we get our data from AI. These are my references. And thank you. You have any questions?
What was the initial cost to install the AI? And did you have to like prove that in soft dollars, or like what kind of revenue generating the AI implementation?
For our hospital, we're a beta site. So they came to us to launch their path. So I wasn't there when they came. I don't think we paid no of my people, no, my CEO, they're very, you want this coming in, we're opening a platform for you to build your service. And what we're doing is helping them build this as we go. We're still building this. Now, we're at the point where I can pull supplies. Like I had a brand new surgeon wanted block time. It won't work like that. You don't just walk in and get block time. So I had to explain that you have to do your cases, but I pulled her cases. She's doing a number of cases, but she only had done 10 cases. She just started this month, and you did 10 cases, which is good. And I looked at the days that most of her cases were done on Wednesdays, some on Thursdays. So sitting down with her, actually I have to sit down and have that conversation with her so she can understand it better. That looks like your day that you want because your cases are posted on that day a lot. We can shoot for that day, but the best day, I also put our whole utilization for prime time in the OR. We have better opportunities on Fridays and Thursdays, just one of the surgeons left. But she didn't know that. So just by a conversation that her and I was having outside my door, because she was being delayed by anesthesia. So I told her I would meet with her and pull that data. And I explained to her, pick a day that you really want as your block and try to push your cases. That way, I'll have information to take back to the subcommittee because they're the ones that's going to approve it. And then it goes to the exec committee. Exec committee will approve it if subcommittee. Subcommittee is your peers, and they're not going to approve it if you haven't did the work. So that's where we're at with her. And I think she'll get block time, but she needs to narrow it to a certain day and just continue to perform. Maybe in 2 or 3 months, we can go back to the board. Any other questions?
Have you used or trialed the OR bed warming pads?
We have, in certain ORs, the problem with, the warming pads, it's the position of the patient too. When you're in lithotomy position, your legs are spread eagle, up in the air. So you're not touching anything warm. And a lot of the OR that I'm at, my cases are like that. Like the Walter, the CVOR, they didn't have an issue with their normothermia like we did. Didn't you know?
For productivity, when you have staff that there's no cases, so they don't want to quite do anything. The travelers, the staff, how do you like control that? Is there height?
They do hide. We know the hiding places. You should. Well, you have to have your expectations set up front. Gotta have it set. And you gotta be consistent and speak the same language. If my charge nurse says something, the manager's usually gonna back her, and I usually back the manager unless it's just something outrageous. So therefore, if they come the one to the other, they're gonna get the same music. And odds and times they'll text me and say, so and so is wanting to do this or not want to do that. So, and I'll just listen to them, but they know at the end of the day, we're all here for one thing. It's take care of the patient.
I don't know if you can speak to it, but I'm a pre-PAC nurse, and I am always at my next admission when they're coming for my previous patient. So I don't know how to give a verbal handoff because I'm not available. We do have a piece of paper, but the OR nurses, where we can highlight something, about like patient extremely, presbyopic, they need their glasses immediately when they wake up or something like that. Any issues we can write.
Right.
But other than that, that's a difficult thing. I don't know if we assign our charge nurse to have that handoff with them or what.
If whatever works for your area, sometimes my charge nurse will do that. Or because that was our biggest problem. That's how we pulled. I can't do it. I gotta do it. So they have Verseras, and they can either tell the nurse because they know who's in the room now, or they know what room they're in. Say, are you ready? I want to come and get a handoff. They may say, give me 5 minutes or give me 2 minutes, and that way the nurse in the room can continue setting up and doing what they're doing. So it's about, again, communication. If you don't talk, you don't know. And then that charge nurse not supposed to just be sitting there in pre-op, because we end up putting a charge nurse in pre-op who floats, because I couldn't justify that for everybody, but one costing it, but she floats and she goes up there to help navigate that path, patient path.
You mentioned you were able to achieve your goals of being a more turnover time in regards to anesthesia getting on board. So how did you engage them? How did you report out like the delays that you had between cases? How did that happen?
Well, AI runs the data, and I report it every month in our subcommittee. And we have and I should have put a slide in it. It lists the reasons. We list for 10 minutes, and we list for longer than 10 minutes, and we list for the doctor, the case, and we list the reason. And then we broke out anesthesia so that they can have their own slide to list with the reason. The doctor, it's all about the doctor. He's committed to doing what's best and what's right anyway. So if he has to go in to relieve the CRNA to lunch, he'll do that instead of waiting on a room for her to come back. And then me talking to the big guy that run everything out of all those 85 ORs. I have his number, and Dr. Burt, and he said, Karen, I'm trying or I'll go to where I know he's at and say, what's the problem? We're waiting. And so sometimes add-ons or emergency cases, it bumps. And the surgeons, they need to talk. If you're bumping somebody, you need to talk to that used to not be in place, but now it is. It's expectation. But it's painful, but it's doable. Does it work every day? Nah. Some days it's like, what happened? And we'll just start over a new day. But sometimes people call in you know, they get sick too. So it's just working. I think the most important thing is having a relationship. And it takes almost 3 years to develop that type of relationship with anybody that you feel comfortable enough to say, hey, I got kicked out of a room once as an OR nurse. The autoclave got stuck. I couldn't know back then in the day we was painting our grafts with albumin, what they were using for AAAs, and stuffing them. Now they come that way. But the autoclave got stuck and the doc kicked me out. I was glad to go and I said, somebody else had to, he kicked me out. But guess what? He called me at home, asked me to come back, and I spent the last 3 years in this room. You know, you have to develop. It's so important to have a relationship with your coworkers, with the doctors, with the anesthesia. They're not as quick to just go off on you if they know what your intent is and if you're honest with them and be upfront. We're gonna be late. I'm sorry, but there's a delay. The lab didn't get sent. I don't know why the nurse just forgot. She was busy. So now there's a delay. Any other questions?
I think we've got to wrap up and get ready for our keynote. So thank you very much, Karen.
You're welcome. Thank you.